Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are fine wherever you are. I am the Acca tutor, Mr. James Timkley, and in this video, I'm going to take you through, I think, about 6 or 7 questions in this first part. Okay, where I'll be explaining those questions you guys found extremely difficult. Okay, but like I have always said, this paper is not that difficult, but we just need to be well prepared for us to pass it. Okay, remember the pass mark for all ACA examinations is just 50%. Okay, and a particular student who wrote this paper scored about 70%. Okay, 70 over 100, which means that's encouraging, and this student has got a lot of potential to pass this paper. Okay, so without much ado, let us go straight to the questions which the students found difficult. Okay, our first question is question number 3. The question was saying there was no work in progress in a manufacturing process at the start of a period. 18,000 units of a product commenced processing in the period during which completed output was 16,100 units. The work in progress was 75% complete for conversion costs, which were $4.60 per equivalent unit. There were no losses or gains in the process. What amount was included in the closing work in progress for conversion costs? Okay, so remember, conversion costs do not include materials or other production costs, excluding material costs. Okay, so in this case, you need to first determine the work in progress in units. Okay, remember, 18,000 units were input into a process, and out of those inputs, 16,100 were completed. So obviously, the difference is the work in progress. Okay, the difference in units were the work in progress. So let us be systematic here. Let me try to open um, a whiteboard. Okay, let me try to find some whiteboard somewhere. Excuse me. Just using my phone. Okay, so some of the applications here might not be clearly visible. All right, now the whiteboard is here. Okay, and the information which we are talking about um, should also be available. Okay, we are saying um, the inputs were 18,000. Okay, but the completed units were 16,100. So if we do our subtraction, subtraction here, we're going to determine 1,900 as the difference. Okay, these are units, okay, of work in progress. But we are told that these units are 75% complete. So we just have to say, hey, Mr. Units, 1,900 multiplied by 75%. Okay, multiplied by the cost per unit, which was the cost per unit is $4.60. Okay, so multiply by 460. Right. So let us try to punch the figures in our calculators. So sorry, I'm opening my calculator here. what's going on here. All right, so we are saying 1900 multiplied by 75%. Ladies and gentlemen, 75% is 0.75 multiplied by $4.60, and we can see that our answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 6,555. Okay, do we have that option? Please bear with me. I'm using a phone, so certain displays might not be that appealing. All right, so obviously we have got our answer there as 6,500, which is the correct answer. Okay, you can just replay this part of the video for you to get used to the computations involved. Okay, but as you can see, sorry, my screen is not that um, user friendly. Anyway, I wanted to show you how the answer. So my screen is not moving. I don't know what's going on. Okay, let me just try to tilt it this way. It's not even responding. It's not responding. Okay, that's something that is all right. Okay, anyway, the screen is refusing. Anyway, it's fine. You can just replay that part of the video that shows everything. All right, let's move on to other question here. Okay, question number 6. Of course, if I'm showing the question on this side of the form, the table is not clear enough, but let me just read and I'll be explaining the structure of the data. Now, the question was saying receipts and issues of a raw material for a period where day one, the units, the day one, the balance of the units was 160. So 160 is the total number of units which were available on day one, and these units were costing $3.70 per unit. Okay, so the cumulative total is 160 multiplied by $3.70, that's 592. And then on day two again, we received 230 units which were costing $3.60, and the amount there should be 230 multiplied by $3.60, and you get a certain total. Okay, so if you use your calculator there, you can simply see that the calculator, where are you? Okay, we are saying we received 230 multiplied by 360. 230, sorry, 230 multiplied by $3.60. That's 828. However, the cumulative total now includes the first balance of 592 on day one. So if we add plus 592, you can see that the cumulative total becomes 1,420. So this is why you are seeing the 1,420 as the cumulative total. Okay, the cumulative total, not of units, but in terms of the monetary value, the dollar value is $1,420. All right, then on day 5 we made issues. So for you to be able to ask this particular question, you just have to be systematic. Okay, so let me try to locate the Okay, my screen again, my whiteboard. So we are saying on day one, okay, on day one, we had in stock how many units? We had in stock 160. So 160, 160 at how much? They were costing $3.60. No, it's not 360, it's 370. Okay, and then on day three we received other units, that is 230 at 360 now. So day three we received 230 at $3.60. Now we are using the last in first out, which means the items which came last are the ones to be issued. So we are told that on day 5 we issued 110. So 110 units are negative. These ones are leaving us. Sorry, this is a 0. Okay, this is 110. It's a 0 there. So they are leaving us. The question now is, these guys who are leaving us, where were they taken from? Were they taken from the first 160 units or from the last 230 units? Remember, the word last here is referring to the date of the items being bought or being received into our hands. So the the 230 units were the last to come in. So when we sell out to the customers, or when we issue the goods to the customers, we are going to start with those units within the 230 units. So the 110 units were obviously taken from the 230 units. So they were taken from the 230, which means the amount out, the units outstanding are how much now? They are now, they are how many now? They are 230 minus 110, which means we are now left with 120. All right, the outstanding units from that batch are now 120. But we are told that on day 8, we issued 150. So which means the 150 were taken again from the remainder of the 230, which was 120. So from this we took the 120 units went out. So we are going to say 120 multiplied by how much the cost of this 120 was, 360 per unit. Okay, then remember we issued 150 on day 8. All right, so if we issued 150, but the last units to come were we were only left with 120 units. So the 120 went out at a cost of 360. So the balance was then borrowed from the 160 units. Remember, the 160 units, those units which came first, which we had on day 1. Remember, we had on day 1 we had 160 in stock. All right, so that's where we are going to take our balance. Remember, what is the balance now? We issued 150, but we only had 120, which were the items which came last. All right, so we issued first those ones, those items which had arrived last, which were 120, but uh, because we issued 150, it means we had to borrow from another batch, which means we took the balance, and the balance was 30 units. The 30 units were borrowed from the batch of 160, which was costing $3.70 per unit. Okay, 370 per unit. So I want you now to add, okay, I want you to add the totals or the product of these two figures, the 120 multiplied by 360, okay, and the 30 multiplied by 370. The 30 multiplied by 370. 120 multiplied by 360 plus 30 multiplied by $3.70. And I want you to show me what you got. Let me use my calculator again here. I'm saying 120 multiplied by $3.60 plus 30 multiplied by $3.70. We get 543. This is the total cost of the issues which were made on day number 8. Remember, those issues were 150. However, the 150 is made up of the units which were taken from the outstanding 120 plus the borrowed 30 units from the 160 units batch. Okay, so let us see if that was the answer according to the form. Yes, the correct answer was 543. Okay, let us go to this particular question again. Product X is manufactured by Y Co. Direct cost is $6.10. Direct material cost $6.10, and prime cost total $9.60 per unit of product. Production overheads are absorbed at a rate of $13.40 per machine hour. 2 units of product X are manufactured per machine hour. So using absorption costing, what is the total production cost per unit of product X? Now, this one is a bit tricky. This one is a bit tricky. Okay, and a lot of students end up, end up being confused. All right, let me show you why. A lot. All right, so people failed this question not because they were not knowing what they were supposed to do, but because they were just underrating certain things. All right, when we started this module, I introduced you to the concept of a cost card, product cost card. Don't mind my handwriting, it's not good. Product cost card. Here I say that we have got what is called, or what are called, direct materials, direct labor, and production overheads. Okay, these are the major items which appear here. Okay, these production overheads could be variable or fixed sometimes. All right, now the first two costs here are variable costs. Okay, now the total of variable costs, that is, let us just say, if the first two costs, those ones, direct materials and direct labor, are variable, the total of these is called prime cost. Okay, the total of all variable costs in total are called prime costs. Okay, that's the simple terminology for variable costs. Okay, the total of variable costs is um, it's called prime cost. Okay, now the question, in this particular question, um, the question under review here, the examiner tricked us. All right, he said, or she said, direct material costs or direct materials cost $6.10 and prime costs total $9.60. But a clever student would see that, oh, if prime costs are $9.60, this means that in this prime cost figure, direct materials are also included. Okay. However, production overheads, of course, sometimes um, they might be variable, but it is safe to consider that they won't be variable. It's safe. Okay. So typically they will be fixed. All right. Production overheads, typically they are fixed. All right. So they are not part of the prime cost figure. All right. So you needed to calculate those ones. But all the variable costs were covered by the total costs there, the total of the prime costs, which was $9.60. So our product cost card now appears this way now. So the product cost card is now going to be prime costs $9.60. Then we go straight to the production overheads. The production overheads. Now we are told that these overheads are being absorbed on units produced basis. Okay, and we are told that 2 units of product X are manufactured per machine hour. However, production overheads are absorbed at the rate of, okay, on machine hour basis. All right, but 2 units of product X are being manufactured per each machine hour. Okay, and now we are also told that each machine hour costs $13.40. So the cost of producing 1 unit obviously is going to be $13.40 divided by 2, because every hour product X units are being manufactured. Do you get the sense? Every hour we are told that 2 units of product X are manufactured per machine hour, which means that every hour 2 units of product X are being manufactured. And every hour we are told that the machine charges, or the overhead rate, is actually $13.40 per machine hour. So every hour we are being charged $13.40. So to produce 1 unit, since we are producing 2 units every hour, so if we are being charged $13.40 to produce 2 units every hour, therefore 1 unit is actually going to cost us half of that amount. So the amount here was $13.40, but we are producing 2 units every hour. So the overhead cost is going to be 1340 over 2. 1340 over 2, this becomes $6.70. So let us then add these two figures, $9.60 plus $6.70, that's 0, 3, 9 plus 6, that's 15, plus 1, 16. So $16.30, and I think that should be our answer. Yes, the correct answer is $16.30. Please, do not be intimidated. I mean, don't feel as if you are just wandering in a world that is not yours. No, this is your particular world, and you just have to be filled with the spirit of management accounting for you to master these concepts. Okay, now there was this particular question which I said, oh my gosh, do these examiners want to kill my students? But actually, this was the very simplest of all the questions. Now, product X requires 1.8 kilograms of a raw material per finished unit. The material has a weight loss of 10% in preparation for manufacture. Okay, so which means whenever you have got a 1 kg and you want to produce this particular product, you need to consider a 10% normal loss or a wastage of 10% per each input you are introducing into the system. Okay, inventory of the material is currently 420 kilograms, but needs to be increased to 500 kgs. 2000 units of product X are to be manufactured. Oh, so we need to manufacture 2000 units? Wow. But each unit takes needs at least 1.8 kg. Okay, now, yes, this was a tricky, juicy question. Okay, so we also need to be very, very pragmatic and systematic. Okay, let's start by the units that are required to produce 2000 units. The materials required. Okay, to produce 2000 units, we need how much? Because we are told that we need a product needs 1.8 kgs. So obviously we need about 3,600 kgs. However, our process is not 100% efficient. We need to consider the 9%, the 10% loss. Okay, so which means if we need to if we buy only 3,600 kgs, we are not going to get the 2,000 units which we want. Okay, because there is a 10% loss to be considered in every raw material we input. So a student might make a mistake and say, oh, so the 10%, 10%, 10%, so we need to say 3,600 multiplied by 10%, then what? Or somebody might just say, oh, 90% then, so it means that we need to have 90% of, so shall we say 90% of uh, 3,600? If you say 3,600 multiplied by 90%, you are showing the examiner that you have got the idea, but unfortunately you're going to get a zero, because if you multiply 3,600 by 90%, obviously the amount is going to go down further. So which means you're going to buy much less materials. So in that case, your computations would be very, very wrong, although you'll be having the idea. Okay, so in your confusion, you will fail the question. So what do we have to do? We then have to say 3,600 divided by 90%. 90%, remember, is 0.9. 0.9. So this one is going to give us a higher figure. Why do we need a higher figure? Because we need to have a buffer so that when that loss or that wastage occurs, we will be in a safer position. And remember, our system only wastes 10% of the raw materials. Okay, so this means that 3,600 divided by 0.9 is going to lead us to 4,000 kgs. Okay, that's 4,000 kgs should be bought. However, that's not the answer to the question. However, this gives us a hint. We need 4,000 kgs. All right. Now, you then have to say, okay, fine. Um, we need to buy 4,000 kgs, but um, we are also told in the question something here of interest. Inventory of the material is currently 420 kgs, but needs to be increased to 500 kg, which means we are not going to buy exactly, we're not going to buy exactly how much 4,000 kgs, because we are told that, hey guys, there are some units in inventory already. There are some units in inventory already. So you need to take care of those ones. So remember, there was a formula which we learned during our studies, ladies and gentlemen. There was a formula. Um, I stand to be corrected if I missed, if I'm wrong about that formula, but let me just try to recite it. Material purchases, okay, material purchases should be equal to material usage plus um, available inventory, that is closing inventory. Okay, please don't mind these abbreviations. You just have to understand what I'm explaining. Closing inventory, and so the usage, okay, um, the closing inventory, as well as what else do we need? What else do we need? Okay, let me just see. Okay, less closing. I mean opening stock. Okay, so the usage. All right, let us see. Let us continue. So now, the usage is how much? The usage is we need 4,000. Okay, that's 4,000. But we have got how much available? Sorry, this 4,000 is another. There should be another zero there, plus the available units. The available units were, I mean, the closing. Now the closing, we are told that these units, the closing should actually be 500 kgs. All right, we expect um, the closing to be 500 kgs. However, we have got 420, but we expect um, them to be 500. So assume that the 500 kg is going to be the closing and the opening is 420. I think I'm okay there. All right, so we are saying the closing is going to be 500, whereas the opening is 420. So let us punch these figures in our calculator and see if we are in the right direction. Okay, we are saying, in the exam, do not temper, do not test the running waters. They say still waters run deep. So if you test these exam questions by using mental work or guessing, you are likely to find the figures wrong. So let us just use the calculators or the spreadsheet if we have got any. So we are saying 4,000 plus 500, which is the closing inventory, minus the opening inventory of 420. So we are going to need 4,080. Okay, so we need to buy 4,080. Let us see if this, so we are saying 4,080 here. These are the kgs which we require. Okay, so let's check from the question if we've got 4,080. So you can see that there's a 4,080 there, which is the correct answer. Okay, so you can see that these questions are solved not through guessing, but just by using your principles. You need to revisit the notes which I sent you. You always have to work extra hard because nothing is going to come on a silver platter. Nothing is going to come for free. Nothing good is going to come so easy. Now, I think this should be my last question here for this particular video. Hey, so that because the purpose of the video should be just to, should be to rejuvenate your spirit, to just inspire you to do more. Okay, because if I solve everything for you, you're not going to benefit from my explanation. So you need to, after you listen, after you watch the video, then you have to ask yourself, where am I? Am I doing what I claim I want to be doing? Am I doing justice to myself in terms of studying, in terms of my aspirations? You need to ask yourself to reflect, some self introspection. Okay, so question number 10 is saying, okay, guys, let us do question number 10. Okay, at the end of a period, the percentage completion of the work in progress in a continuous manufacturing process was overestimated. What effect would correction of the error have on the cost per equivalent unit and the total cost of output completed in the period? Okay, one thing we must understand here is a continuous process. A continuous manufacturing process is that process which involve products like, for example, fuel, that is diesel, petroleum products. They normally undergo a continuous process, or in manufacturing setups like sugar manufacturing. Uh, the sugar mill usually is in operation throughout the whole year, so there are continuous processes which will be taking place there. Okay, so that's a continuous process. Now, the concept of equivalent unit is a concept where we then have to say all the work in progress has to be evaluated on the basis of percentage completion. Okay, so to illustrate this point, um, let me just use some drawings. Let me locate my, where's this whiteboard of mine? Here it is. Okay, um, let us say um, the process from A to B, um, we produced about 2,000 kgs, okay, of sugar. Yes, and let us just call this the this is to work in progress. Okay, 2 kgs of sugar to work in progress. Okay, now the costs which we have incurred so far are, we have incurred costs of 10,000. okay, to produce 2000 kilograms. That is work in progress. Now we asked a valuer or an expert, and they told us that this sugar is 80% complete. Okay, the sugar cane, the 2000 kgs are costing, are at 80% completion. Okay, but they have costed us $10,000 so far. Okay, so in terms of completion, we are saying that uh, the actual sugar we have is not 2000 kgs of sugar, but actually 2000 multiplied by 80%, which means we have got 1600 kgs of sugar. But the cost is still the same. Okay, the cost is still 10,000 kgs. So um, the cost per unit in this case now would be 10,000 divided by 1600, and let us use our calculator to find the cost per equivalent unit. Okay, so let me locate a calculator here. Does it have one open? Yes. So we're saying we used we used $10,000 to produce 1600 kg. So each kilogram of sugar is costing us $6.25. This particular sugar is actually special sugar. Okay, let us call it special sugar. Okay, remember this is a hypothetical example. So we are saying in equivalent unit terms, we are saying that the cost of this sugar is $6. How much? $6.25 per kilo. $6.25 per kilo. Okay, that's the cost, right? Now we are told now that when we said that the percentage completion was 80%, we overestimated this. The actual percentage or the revised percentage has been determined to be 50%. All right. So the question is, what would be the effect on the cost per unit? Initially, we had determined that it is $6.25 per kilo. If the percentage completion is 80%, it is $6.25 per kilo, which we obtained by saying 10,000 divided by 1,600 kgs, and we obtained that the cost per kg is $6.25. Now, if we revise and say let me delete here and say the percentage completion is now 50%. We moved from 80% to 50%. Okay, so we now say 50% multiplied by 2000 kgs of sugar, and we can see that the amount of sugar which we have is now 1000 kgs. But we used, the cost is still the same, $10,000. The cost is still 10,000. So it's 10,000 divided by 1000 kgs. Sorry, my one. So which means each kg of sugar is costing $10. So it's now $10 per kg. All right. So if we have revised, because we initially we determined that when we said it's 80% complete, we determined that no, there were some errors in our estimation. We had overestimated. So, which means the correct position is to go down in our estimation. So we have gone down to 50%. We have reassessed the sugar and said that no, this special sugar is 50% complete. So which means if we reduced the completion rate or completion percentage, it means that the cost per unit is going to go up. As you have seen here, the cost per unit has become $10 instead of the original $6.25. Okay, so the answer to the question, the cost per unit is going to increase. Okay, the cost per unit is going to increase. All right, so increase, the unit cost is going to increase. What about the output? Do you think the cost of output is going to decrease or to increase? The cost of the whole output. Remember, the unit cost in this case has reduced. All right, the unit cost, has increased from $6.25 to 10. All right, so if the unit cost has increased, why do you think the total cost of the output is going to reduce? Obviously, the total cost is also going to increase because we are simply going to say 1000 kgs multiplied by $10 per unit, which means um, the cost is going to be $10,000. Okay, whereas initially we had 6.5, but our so that's 6.5 multiplied by, if we say $6.25 multiplied by initially was 1600. So that's where's the calculator? All right, here, 1600 multiplied by 6 point, sorry, what's going on with my, all right, so we're still going to come to the same conclusion here. Okay, okay, so if we use the mathematical way, using the figures available only and the information which we have, we are still going to come to the same cost. However, think of this way. If the actual completion is actually reduced to 50%, it means that we are likely to incur more costs as we have produced less in a given time, which means more conversion costs are likely to be incurred. Maybe the use of additional labor and so forth. So by the end of the day, we are likely to incur more costs because we are producing less within a budgeted time. Okay, but the general reasoning is that the cost per unit is actually going to increase given the same costs but less production. So as long as the denominator is going to be lower, it means that the output, the ultimate cost is going to be increasing. Okay, as long as the denominator goes much lower than the numerator, then it means that the cost per unit is actually going to increase. All right, so the best answer there for this particular question was this option. Okay, increase of cost, unit cost increase, and then cost of output also increases. Okay, Now, let's move on to the last question. Okay. Now, a production worker is paid $11 per hour for a basic 35-hour week. Overtime is paid at 40% over the basic rate. The operative worked for 38 hours in week 9. Income tax deducted was $76.40, and benefit contribution payments were employer $40, employee 10% of gross pay. What was the net pay for the worker in week 9? So you can see that although there are a lot of figures there, but some of the figures are irrelevant to our computation and should not intimidate us. Okay, for example, the figure for the week 9, I don't expect you, my student, to do any multiplication or division or subtraction or addition using that figure 9. That one only represents the week number, so you don't have to factor it in any of your computations. Similarly, the employer contribution. Remember, benefit contribution payments, these ones are contribution like, for example, um, social security contributions, the NASA contributions for our defined contribution plans. So you don't have to factor in the contribution made by the employer because it is not going to be deducted from your pay. Instead, the employer is helping you to contribute to NASA. Okay, the employer is just doing his part to ensure that when you retire, you're going to have a good retirement package. So the employer is also helping you with those contributions, but they are not part of your deductions. Okay, so when you do your computations, you need not to factor them in. Remember, the question was, what was the net pay of the worker? In the net pay, is the actual amount you are going to receive at the end of the day. So let us first calculate the basic pay for this guy. The basic pay, because if you don't know that amount, we are going to do wrong computations. Okay, so the basic pay, let me just call it BP. The basic pay is based on the amount of payment per hour of basic wage, that was $11. So $11, and he works for 35 hours a week, 35 hours. So this should give us something like $385. 11 multiplied by 35, that's 385. Just to verify. Yes, 385. Okay, and using the information from the question, we can also determine the amount of overtime. This guy is paid at 40% over the basic rate, and we have determined the basic rate as $11 per hour. So overtime, OT, which was paid $11 multiplied by 1.4, because it's 40% above. So 40% above the basic rate, so that's 11 multiplied by $1.40 multiplied by the amount of hours. In this case, the overtime hours, he worked 38 hours in this particular week instead of 35, so that's 3. 38 minus 38 minus 35, that's 3. So if we use our calculator, well, we're going to have this figure 11 multiplied by $40 multiplied by 3, so that's $46.20. That's the amount of overtime. Okay, so the total, the total basic pay, total basic pay is going to be 385 plus 4620, and this gives us how much? Plus 385 for 3120. So that's 3120. So that's the total basic pay. All right. Now we are told that this guy is going to have certain deductions of income tax, and these were determined to be $76.40 from the basic pay, and we also have to deduct his own contribution, the benefit contribution payments he is going to pay. That's 10% of gross pay. The employee himself is going to pay that amount. So 10% of the gross pay, and the gross pay is the amount which we have just calculated as 431.2, 431.20. All right, that's the basic pay. So 10% of that amount is how much? 10% of 431.2 is obviously going to be 43. Yes, 43.12. That's the 10%. Okay, so we're going to deduct the 43.12 from 431, and we also have to deduct the amount of income tax, which the examiner said was 76 something. It was how much? 76.40. So we're going to say the basic pay amount was 431. So the basic pay amount is going to be 431.20 minus 76. How much? 76.40 minus 43.12. Don't mind my poor handwriting. 43.12. So using the calculator, we're going to say 431.2 minus 76 point, 76.4 minus 43.12. That's 311.68. Okay, is there any figure we need to adjust for? Obviously, we don't have that figure, and this should be our answer, 311.68. Okay, I think this should be the last question, and we call it a day. No losses or gains occur in a manufacturing process. There was no work in progress at the start of a period during which 9,600 liters of a raw material were input to the process. 8,700 liters of finished product were output from the process in the period. The stage of completion of the work in progress was materials 100%, conversion costs 60%. What were the equivalent units of production in the period? Please master these equivalent units concept. You need to master this concept, and it's a resident of your examination. You just have to expect it. So master the concept as I explain, because you don't have any other time. Okay, this is your last chance, and you need to ensure that you master the concept. Okay, so we are told that at the start of the period, there was no work in progress, and the inputs which were uh, uh, introduced in the process were 9,600. However, 8,700 liters of finished goods were the output. Now, the question then that comes to mind is how how many or how much was the work in progress in terms of liters. Okay, so that's 9,600 minus 8,700. So we're going to say here 9,600 minus 8,700, and this should lead us to 900 liters, and these were work in progress. So work in progress. Okay, so 900 are the work in progress. So we need to have a table now and say we've got um, materials, we've got our uh, conversion costs. Okay, so we have got finished goods. Okay, materials. We are told that the finished goods were 8,700 liters, and the materials were 100% complete, whereas conversion costs were 60%. So we're going to use that information. So 8,700. 8,700. These liters were complete, so these were finished goods, and the work in progress. The work in progress, we are told that this one now, um, they were 900. Okay, but they were these 900, they were 60%. Okay, so we are having 900 multiplied by 60% complete. Okay, so we're not going to effect any change on the material because we don't have any issues with regards to the materials. Okay, because we're told that the materials were 100% complete, so we don't have any work in progress. Rather, with regards to the materials, we are told that these ones were 100% complete. So our problem is with the conversion costs, where we are told that they were 60% complete. So 60 multiplied by 9, that's 540, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Let me just Okay, just a relook at this particular question. The stage of completion of the work in progress was material. Okay, all right. So the stage of completion of the work in progress. All right, fine. So the materials we 100%. All right. So which means if the materials we 100%, then we need to adjust again here. We need to adjust here. Right. Okay. Um, okay. This eraser of mine. Right. Let me just use a different pen. So for the work in progress here, we are going to, since it is 100%, we are told that 900 units are still outstanding as work in progress. So it means that we're going to take 900 multiplied by 100%, that's still 900. Okay, 100% is just one. So we are going to take the whole 900 and put it on the work in progress there. That's fine. Let me check again if we still have any information required. All right. Yeah, this question was a bit challenging, but it's fine. Okay, so we have put all the information we need. So we then have to add up and get the totals. Okay, so first of all here, that's 8,700 plus 900. We are going to get 9,600. All right, and then here we're going to have 0, 4, 12, so 9,240. So the material are going to be 9,600. Okay, in terms of equivalent units for materials, that's 9,600, whereas for conversion cost, we're going to have 9,240. So I think we have got those figures. Yes, that's fine. So ladies and gentlemen, that's how you need to maneuver this terrain. Okay, and basically you guys were doing well throughout the um, the test, and this particular student was so amazing. All right, obtaining 70 over 100. It shows that I, as a tutor, I'm also doing something. Okay, so I expect you guys to do the rest of the questions, try them again and again, until you master. Do not cheat yourself by just uh, browsing the answers on the internet and so forth. That in doing that, you'll be cheating yourself out of the possibilities of passing these examinations. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, may the good Lord continue to bless you. And if you have got any questions before you sit for your examination, please do not hesitate to contact me, to ask me, so that I help where I can. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is all for now. I am signing out.